Today, in my world reviewed, renowned series of how-to, we're looking at an early Range Rover power steering pump. Now this one has come from the a-suffix, and the only reason I'm going to take it apart is because I'm going to put new seals in it, but also to show you guys and girls how these things fit together. Because I've had poor customer managed to absolutely and utterly annihilate one of these doing exactly the same job. So let's see if I can do the same thing. Now, the main reason for putting seals on this is its location, front of the engine, it's not the cleanest place in the world, but it shouldn't be this grubby. So we'll start with a very brief wipe over, which you don't need to see all of, I'm sure, and I say this all the time and then ended up showing you everything. But what I'm going to do is just turn the heater off for a minute because it's getting warm in here. When I say it's getting warm, it's getting tolerable. Cleaning solution is a product called Plus 10. Comes from my local chappie. And it's just makes the job a little bit more pleasant if the thing is not absolutely and utterly gopping when you pull it apart. Now, obviously this thing has only just, all I've done is I've taken it off the engine. So it's got all of the correct fixings, mountings, etc. for the Range Rover V8 installation. Yours might not match exactly, but we'll go over in a second what the pump is. I probably should have done that at the beginning, so then people that weren't interested in this particular style of pump could have cleared off, not watch me cleaning the fucking thing. Right, where's the ID? There's the ID label. Let's clean it up. So this is a Hobourn Eaton MP. It just gives the name on it. Number Hobourn Eaton. It's a 5503. And it's got 851884 on the tag. It's one of those, whatever that is. You see that? There's my gloves there. Right. It's good, this cleaner, but nothing really. And the main reason for taking this thing apart is to replace the seals, which are probably as old as the pump is, but also the car this came off was the one that had the power steering box full of water. Now, when I took the reservoir apart, it was bone dry. When I took the pipes apart, they were bone dry. But I just got no idea whether this thing has got water contamination or any other contamination inside it. I'm getting a mix now of ATF and cleaner down here. So some of this stuff being rubbed back on is ATF. It's a bit thick, Richard. Right, that should, yeah, we're about there. Any further cleaning I can do when it's all apart. So let me just get some water. Just rinse it off. It's all coming apart anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about drying it off or decontaminating it. I'll clean it as it comes apart. Right, that can come out of that tray and go into the disassembly baking tray, and we can start to rip this thing apart. That's cleaned up nicely. Right. Okay, so unless you've got any reference points as to how the mountings and so forth go together on these things, I'd always recommend you just take a couple of pictures of how the pump fits together, the orientation of the pulley, etc, etc, etc. It just makes life just that little bit easier. And you'll notice that when I wind this over, there is probably got rid of the last of the fluid out of there, but you've got low pressure return, high pressure feed. Always high pressure when it's got a threaded end on it. Okay, we're there. Let's get it apart. Right, before we go too far, bolt needs to come off here. This has been on there for about 1,000 years by the looks of things. It's got a spring washer underneath it. I've got no real way of gripping the pulley without causing damage to it. Now, I guess I could put a clamp or hold it. I've got a windy gun there, or I've got an electric windy gun, I should say. I keep calling it a windy gun. It's not a windy gun, it's an electric windy gun. So let's utilise the services of Mr. Windy. There we are, dead easy. No fucking around. Now, what you'll find is that each of these kind of pulleys and shafts and so forth in here, they've got a little woodruff key in there. Don't lose the woodruff keys, folks. You probably can get new ones, but just be sensible with them. Now, the pulley should come off quite easily, which it does. More dirt, and there's the little woodruff key. It's probably going to stay in the shaft, I think. I might need to replace the bearing. We'll see what it's like when it comes out. We can cover that off as and when we get to it. But first and foremost, more cleaning. Below the front cover, and now we're a little bit cleaner, we can see that there's a metal plate. Metal plate acts as a retainer for the front bearing. There's only one bearing in the whole thing. The rest are bushes. So, fairly easy to get it all apart. I'm not going to use an impact gun on any of these. These should all be fairly straightforward. So we'll take the retaining plate off. Oh, we'll take some pictures first of all of the orientation of stuff. Practice as you preach, Richard. No. Right, okay, so we'll just take a picture of the overall front end of the back end, just so I get top an overall idea of how the thing fits together. Bottom for now. Right, the other reason for using these nice trays is that you get to keep quite a lot of the crap and stuff located in a nice controlled environment, and I can clean the tray up a lot easier than I can clean the bench up. Right, take these bolts out. Now, no locking washers under these. They look just to be 1/4 inch UNF bolts, nothing particularly fancy here. And all this is doing is taking off the mounting plate and the bearing retainer on the front of the pump. I'm going to give this all a proper good clean up once it's all disassembled. Just wanted to make it a little bit more pleasant to work on. And then this plate should come off. There's a spacing bar you've just seen over there for the top end, or left hand side of your frame. That's just moved out of the way. Right, that has to go over there. So a quick wipe around the front of the pump, and you can see the bearing actually sits quite proud there. Yeah, so bear that in mind. A seal bearing feels in fairly good order, so we'll probably be reusing that. Just wipe more of this engine detritus and crap off here. Like I say, we'll get a proper good going over. Now, on the other side of the pump, we could take off the unions. You don't need a windy gun to take these off, it's just that I haven't got my 1/2 inch socket over it, so you're going to see me use the windy gun on this just to get it off. Right, that comes off. Underneath it's got some silicone sealant by the looks of things, and underneath that there's an O-ring, which will come as part of the seal kit. Arf, arf, arf. So I'll pop that all back together again, just so I know roughly the order it came in. Okay, another quick wipe. I'm not worried about any shit falling into this thing because it's all going to come apart, but if you weren't going to take this apart, you want to worry about shit going in there. You don't want me shitting in there. Right, we'll take the back plate off now. It's on the back of the pump. It's the second of the 2 mounting plates. One bolt was loose, one wasn't. 2 were loose. I say loose, they just weren't done up to 11 to 47,000 foot-pounds. Right, one. Look to be the same screws. That comes off. Ready for cleaning. Wipe underneath. Ooh, a bit of rust there. Just wiping away there. Might just be dirt. If you're going to paint these things, go for the army approach of assembling fully first of all and then painting. Right, there's another pressure, kind of like, I guess it's another version of this thing here, but it's slightly smaller. I don't know if there's anything underneath it, so we'll have a look. Right, that's off. And underneath it, pressure valve. Great, so we've got the pressure valve, which is good. That can all sit there. Because obviously you don't want the pump running over pressure because it will just pop pipes. So that's the pressure relief valve. You don't want to be adjusting that, folks. Just take it out, clean it, put it back together again. Right, now we're into the main body of the pump. Oops, there's a big spring in there as well. Don't lose the big spring. Came out that way. Sometimes these springs are kind of like, they're progressive springs, so they're more tightly coiled at one end than the other, but that one you can see it's fairly straight spring, but I'll keep it that way round because then there is no arguing whatsoever. Right, now we need to get these 6 Allen headed or socket headed screws out. Have I got any here? These are probably all going to be metric. They are all metric, so I'm probably going to need to get my imperial out. Oh my god. Yeah, just going to get the imperial sockets out. Just here. Nice. You find yourself working with these things quite a lot. You can get an Allen key set, but it's a lot easier just to get them. This particular one is 3/16. So now, there's a fair amount of torque on that. So we will, oh goodness, and oops, that slipped. Hadn't gone quite into all the gloop of the shit, so make sure it's properly located before you start leaning on it. And you should be able to preserve the screws. These are almost certainly going to be a UNF thread, so if you knacker any of these screws, then just replace them. You can get fixings like this, a number of different suppliers out there. Really not an issue. The fact it's got screws on it means it's supposed to be taken apart. If it was riveted together, it would mean to be taken apart. And that comes out. You see they're not particularly long. They look 1/4 inch UNF to me. I'll measure them if I need to. Or if anyone got any questions, I can measure them. Now all we're really doing here is separating the two halves of the pump. They're very, very, very simple things, these. There's no ring on the plug there for the pressure release valve. Last of the bolts. Come off. Now I should be able to, in theory, separate the two halves of the body. Now there are a couple of dowels in there which might be just holding it together. Just going to see if I can. Yes, that's got it. Right, it's broken whatever seal was in there. Right, tip it this way up because this is the direction of the pump, and I reckon that the bottom half of the body has only got an O-ring in there. It's quite wise to take this apart. Look, there's water contamination there. But there's the lid of the pump. A couple of O-rings and bits and bobs in there. Got the main pump itself, and you can see how the pump works here. It goes that way, doesn't it? You can see how the pump works. That it's just basically just squirting the oil, forcing the oil through from a loose chamber to a tight chamber. Okay. Now, all of these rollers will just tip out. There you go, and then we should be able to get the impeller off. Now, bear in mind that this points, if it's going to spin like it's running, if you get my drift, clockwise. Yeah. So this is the orientation, because I'm guessing you can put this on back to front. Right, let me just tap the shaft down. Right, bearings come out. But the bearings not sweated onto the shaft, but it's tight on the shaft. Ah, right, okay, we've got the outer race here has come out. That's held into a pin at the bottom there. We should be able to get the centre section out, which is done. It's in my hand. So on this, let's clean it so you can actually see what's going on. So you've got two halves to the pump, which looked like at one point they would have been serviceable, but they probably did it this way just so it was easier to manufacture, because you just cast the block, and then the important bits end up being cheaper to produce. Right, so in a nutshell, you've got a slot on the bottom of here that goes into a dowel up there. See that? That chap goes in, thus, and then this sits in on top that way round. Now there'll be a roll pin in there. This is actually looking quite worn, this. We will just double check tolerances on it. Might have run dry at some point, you never know. Right, then we got, there's the pin. It fell out. So that pin there goes into the rotor there. It holds the rotor tight on the shaft. You see that? Don't lose that. Right, now what we'll do is we'll knock the entire shaft through with the bearing. So I put my hands around the outside of the pump here, and there goes the entire centre shaft, complete with the bearing. Well, that all looks quite good. No real signs of nastiness, no signs of any wear. We can take this. Do we need to take the bearing off the shaft? I don't think we do actually. I think the bearing is good. So I'm going to leave the woodruff key and the bearing in place. If the bearing was shot, then I'd use the bearing to push the woodruff key up a little bit. So just basically bang, or mount it in a vise like that and tap the top here and then rescue the woodruff key. That is going to stay as it is, hickety up it is. Telling me I need coffee. I don't know where I got to with that because the phone rang. All I'm really going to do with this thing is I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to fit new seals to it because I think there's no reason why this thing won't work properly. But it's just really just cleaning all of the crap out of it and assembling it as it should be. I'll use a bit of ATF in there once it's all together. But they're not difficult. And as far as the seals are concerned, there's a big seal that sits in here, and I think it actually sits in the recess around the central outer part of the rotor bearing. So that sits there. There's a seal that goes into there, and there's seals on each of the outlets. I'll tell you where there'll be another seal. There's a seal there, look at that one. Right, so I'll replace that as well. Yeah, I'll get the kit and I'll put this thing back together again. HPS pump kit, Range Rover 9110, 1973 to 1986. Power steering was, I don't think, it wasn't even an option until the B-suffix, so many A-suffix Range Rovers had it retrofitted. Part number here is ABU7142. Country of origin, UK. Can't say further than that. Now, let's get myself a bit of a blue roll so I can work on it, and hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on, I think. So, the idea here is really just to replace the seals and get the pump back together again, I think. So on this, we open the seal package. Nice little tear on the side, look at that, that's beautiful. Oh yes. Right, there's the seals. We won't mix the new ones up with the old ones. Right, we'll see where one of those, we'll see where two of those go instantly. That's dead easy. We'll take that one out. We'll take that one out. Put the dead ones over there. And on this side we've got a cup seal, which I'm just using my how am I going to get that out? That's going to need, because I've broken my seal hook. So I'll go back to the old mechanism of using a pair of pliers. Right. There it goes. There's a nice big hook on that. So that's that seal out. Then underneath there's no ring, I believe. Is there an O-ring underneath it? No, there wasn't. Oh, O-rings for the plunger. Right, so we've done that. Let us start with a quick wipe down. Heater's on in the background, by the way, folks. Turn it down. There we are. Sorry about the background noise. Okie doke. Now, if this part comes out, bear in mind that there is a little pin there which also can come out. I'm not going to pull it out. Wow. Are we going to pull it out, Richard? Are we going to pull it out or not? That one's actually quite well seized in. Stuck in. There's a notch. It needs to sit on it. Basically stops the carrier from spinning at the same time, and there's a little notch here that sort of goes at the 3 o'clock position. I don't worry about any of that stuff because I don't need to. Now we'll put this seal in. That should go in nice and easily. Let's push the bastard in. Oh my goodness. In. Right. That's good. Then I've got the main shaft with the bearing, no seals. What we will do though is we will just lube the seal up a little bit. I've got some Vaseline here. I don't know if Vaseline's right or not. It's petroleum based, so can't be doing that much harm. There we go. That's in. Now that's fallen out, so I'll remember to put that back in again. Do we think that seal's gone in far enough? No, I'm going to attempt to push that down a bit further. Big socket, I reckon. What have we got here? Big sockets. 22, that'll do it. And push. It's not going to go any further. I'm actually just pushing it in by hand here. It's in. It's below the surface. It's level. There's like a beveled edge on the inside here, and I've gone down to that point, and it's sitting on the sleeve on the inside. So I'm going to say that's in. That's in as far as it's going to go. Right, shaft is in. Next we could do with something. I'll just get balance on my hand. Put that in there. Needs to go in and actually sit on the pin though. I think that went in. That's definitely in. Right. Next we need the actual pump mechanism. Now prior to putting the pump mechanism in, you need to put this little bullet shaped barrel in. That goes into the groove on the shaft, and then this chappy should just slip down and over it like that. Okay, then we've got the rollers, one into each hole. Bom, 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 bom. Done. Big O-ring goes in there, little O-ring. Put a bit of Vaseline on. Just helps it seal, I guess. I don't know. There might be someone screaming it. Scream right now about me being a fucking ham-fisted gibbon, etc., etc. Yes, yes, yes. We know this. We know all of this. That goes in the groove all the way around. Is it in the groove? I was thinking about it. Right, I think it's there. That's it. Wipe over. Having put the bloody seal in, I'm now going to disturb the seal by wiping the surface. No crap in there. Wipe this surface. No crap in there. Beautiful. Assemble the two halves. Come on, you bastard, you know you want to. There we go. Assemble the two halves. There are a couple of dowels in there, which we're probably going to have to pull on. As I, oh, there it goes. As I pulled down, I just wanted to make sure that the seal is still on, and it is. Right, that's now in place. So now we're going to do up the 6 bolts on the back. Just working diagonally. Do I want to thread lock these? Do I want to thread lock these? They've got spring washers underneath them. We could go belt and braces and thread lock. probably not that worried about it, to be quite honest. Go. Thank you very much. That's a big socket. This can go. The heads are ready, by the way. You only can rebuild those, so I'm going to go and get those later on. That's in. One. Right, that's in. Our shaft is in, and it turns nicely. Right, next, this O-ring is either going to go on there, no, on there, no. Where the fuck does that go then? Was there an O-ring on that? No, there can't have been, because the spring and the valve go in there. I can't see that that is that O-ring, that is just too loose. So I'm wondering if this kit comes with more than one application. And the reason I'm kind of suggesting that is I need some sort of a seal on here and some sort of a seal on there. So I might just have to dig into the O-ring box, which isn't a huge issue, to be honest. Not a huge issue. I'm just going to put that on there for now, because I'm going to put the front and back covers on, and then I can replace these two seals, or I don't know what that one's for. Right, now, photographs I took earlier. Just saved me a load of time in orientating the pump. Right, so from the front, put this plate goes on this way round. Oh. 12. 12? No, it's going to be an 11. Weird socket size. No, it is 11. Don't know why the 7/16 didn't fit it. There's just some crap on the inside of it. There it is. Silly arse. Right, okay. These are, I couldn't tell you what these bolts are. These are, look like high tensile bolts, but no spring washers. We've got the spring plate behind them. Do they need tightening? Couldn't tell you. Sorry, do they need thread lock? I couldn't tell you. I will go over these one more time, just to make sure we've got two halves of the clamshell tight. The reason I do this is because once the back cover goes on, the back mounting plate goes on, they're obscured. Right, that'll do that. And this chappy goes. Hey, something's gone wrong. Ah. No, it hasn't. Because it wants to go to that one. So it's those 3 bolt holes. And that tube. So I probably just want to centre up. And tighten these 3 bolts on the back. These have got spring washers on them. I wonder if there just wasn't enough room behind the pulley for the spring washer. Right, there we go, that's the basis of that pump. Now, rebuilt. Beautiful. Just fucking beautiful. I'll do that. But all I really need to do is remount the pulley. I will thread lock this bolt on. Oh, it has got a lock washer on there. I'll replace the lock washer. Oh! That's going to be a metric, isn't it? Put money on it. Neb 8. Oh. Yup. Goes in there. I'll tighten this thing up fully once it's all in place. I might even put a bit of thread lock on it, but for now it's just in place. Right, the only other thing I've got to do is put that's the output. So this is the input, that's the output. So I need to replace those 2 O-rings. That's it. That's all there is to it. Nothing to these pumps. Just if you haven't taken them apart before, then you might not know. I hope it's useful. Seeing me spend half an hour taking one of these things apart, rebuilding it with new seals.